Hello, welcome to an MLS dedicated podcast. I'm joined again by Erwan.
Hello guys, hello everyone.
People love this duo,
Yeah,
and this
the best
time
Joe.
the best duo. And this time we're actually joined by esteemed members of the Sorare community, who have gone above and beyond to nurture this happy home that we call Sorare. But more specifically, also self-proclaimed MLS geniuses, geniuses of the MLS. We have Harry and Gatorguy.
What's happening,
I-
lads?
I'll go. I'll go more sicko than genius, but I'll take either one. I
Sicko,
appreciate the
you can
compliment.
explain the term sicko. We spoke a bit offline about it.
Yeah, so MLS sicko over here. We just say MLS isn't exactly the most popular sport, to say the least, over here. But the people that love it, we dive really, really hard into it. Watch all night. Watch the absolute craziness, which we'll talk about a little bit. And so we've affectionately called ourselves MLS sickos.
I like it. I like it.
And get a guy. How do you call football? Soccer or football?
I still say football, but that's also just to make people confused. You definitely call it soccer if you're talking to like a normal person that isn't a sicko.
Uh,
Otherwise, they're like, "Oh, you like Mahomes?" Stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. He's a great left back for Yeovil Town. Well, in Ireland we call it both, so I'm not so attached to to either term. But okay, let's kick it off. We're gonna try keep this podcast for everyone who's listened to 30 minutes. That would have already been spoiled by whatever streaming platform you're using. But there's three parts to this. Essentially, firstly, we'll talk about the MLS update or announcements around the gameplay that went out last week. We'll try answer some questions, maybe get some lifetime feedback from Harry and Gator. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit more about this MLS 2025 season. You guys as fans, everyone's a big MLS fan too, what you're looking out for, who your picks are.
And you?
I'm not a sicko yet, but I will one day be a sicko. Hopefully after this call, one step closer. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit more about essentially your building strategies for 2025 based on the announcements last week. So
Perfect.
let's kick it off first. Last week we announced, well, can we give, we're launching our first MLS specific competition. So like the Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga, MLS will have its own competition. We also shared details about this kind of mysterious beat the game mode that we hinted at in our winter update, which is called Hot Streaks, which has Hot Wheels branding around it. Davis. Let's not run this by the legal team, Momo, who's here next to me. But yes, we took some inspiration from wrestling promos and Hot Wheels branding for Hot Streaks, which we kind of shared the details about. Essentially, it's a progressive thresholds mode. We also talked about Golden Goal, which is kind of like this prize total that accumulates in the super rare and unique divisions as long as no one hits that target. So that thing will grow and grow, unless everyone's really good and they get it every game week.
Don't think so. Don't
You don't
think
think
so.
so? You don't
No.
think so? And then what else did we share? Have I missed anything? Prize
Maybe
pools?
yeah. Price pool, the early access cards
Yes,
promo,
yes. So Tuesday, sorry,
and also the division battle.
and the division battle. Yes.
Mm.
So yes, good man. So I'll talk about that quickly. So Tuesday, this podcast will come out after Tuesday. Recording this on Monday, but on Tuesday, the early access cards were launched with the double up promo that everyone's familiar with now.
Yes.
Essentially guaranteed essence or an extra free card. And also division battle. So everyone's really building for the season, but also a big eye on division battle. And the division battle is essentially the competition that decides which division you'll start off in.
Yeah.
And so for people who want to get ahead as quickly as possible, it's an opportunity to essentially fast track to Division One.
Well, matchup for the first game week would be very important for the division
Very
battle.
much so.
Yeah, yeah.
I know Inter Miami has already a good matchup.
I
So
believe so.
yes.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm double checking it right now.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
There's a couple other ones that are there, but yeah, Miami is they are home to New York,
Yes.
which New York is about to transfer out their best players, so it might have just gotten better.
Okay, cool. So I think maybe before we get into the details of maybe our the MLS season matchups and all that, any feedback on your side, Harry or Gator Guy, in terms of the announcements? Was there questions that you saw a lot from the community that you think we could answer? And if not, no worries.
I think I'll start. I think the big source of heartburn that I saw when the announcement first came out, because it also doubled up with the XP update,
Mhm.
is there was some concern around some of the players that transferred from Europe during the transfer window to the MLS season, and if those would be in-season cards like Jonathan Bamba, Wilfred Zaha, Miguel Almiron, just to name a few. So do you mind clarifying that? And then also the other part of that, if you're ready for it, is how the XP will work as well on those. Are they going to lose like the in-season XP kicker?
Yes, so just for example, like Jonathan Bamba or Denki or Almiron, so they will still be in season card until the season the season of the league of the card. I don't know if it's clear that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's clear in the
Uh,
community. We got that.
So when the season will end, the card will lose the in-season utility. Also, one thing to mention is Almiron, for example, we will mint the card from Atlanta, the first edition card. So there will be another mint of Almiron card.
Okay.
So
So he
Maybe.
won't start out, he'll start back as a number one for Atlanta as well. So there'll be a little bit more of him. Okay.
yeah, because it's the 2025 season. So it's different because
Got you.
the one before it's 2024, 2025, and this season is 2025, so it's not the same season. And if he gets transferred, we will not, we will continue his minting, so.
So in the case of Almiron, maybe you can explain in terms of a timeline what that means for in-season eligibility, Newcastle Almiron versus MLS
Yeah,
Almiron.
the MLS Almiron will have full utility during the whole MLS season, and MLS Newcastle Almiron will lose his utility at the end of the Newcastle season. I hope I am clear
Makes
enough.
sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was clear, I just
The only other part on that, do you know there was a few people that read the announcement and were wondering if that in-season extra 5% would kick off or not? I assume that it would still have that. So his 2024, 2025 plus 5%, that would still be there.
Yeah, sure. Until the end season is here, it will not change. So yeah,
That's going to save a lot of headache in the community, I promise you.
I know that. I mean, maybe we need to explain it better, but yeah, that's all
I
it
think
was.
we'll put it down in more clearly in a help center article and maybe update in a blog because I did get a lot of tags on that one as well.
Yeah,
And maybe
sure.
not everyone's going to be listening to this podcast with we need it in multiple languages essentially. Mainly speaking for my accent and Harry's accent, not the okay, cool. I don't know if there was anything else on that. In general, I saw that the feedback was largely positive. A few questions about, I saw some questions about whether, a few questions kind of details of prize pools, and also a few questions about whether Golden Goal is exciting enough a proposition
Yeah,
for super rare and
yeah,
unique managers.
we saw some super manager disappointed because they will not have like the hot streak,
Mhm.
but it is mainly because the super rare and unique user are not the same as the limited and rare user, so we don't have the same typology of user. So that's why we prefer to go with the golden goal for super rare and unique.
And I think there's maybe a larger direction in terms of gameplay design and strategy here. Like when we've built competitions at a high level, we've always just naturally limited rare, super rare, and unique have followed similar setups and designs. But we did this always with a fairly clear understanding that the behavior and the user types that you see in super rare and unique are very different to what someone in rare will look for and what someone in limited will look for. And so this MLS approach to kind of different sub competitions across limited and rare
Yes.
and super rare and unique is an approach towards kind of navigating that, if you like, philosophy.
Yes.
But it's just for the MLS 2025 season. We're obviously going to take learnings from this approach, and there might be a world where one is a lot more exciting than the other, and we'll have to maybe revisit how each forms across each scarcity.
But if we are 100% honest, the unique and super user, they have not the same goals as the limited and our user.
Mhm.
That's why they can't be treated as the same
Yeah,
users.
yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
guys, Harry.
No, I think the actual like the concept is amazing. I just think 600 points is a stretch personally. Like I've been playing this game for over 4 years. I check my history like as far as scoring goes, and I think my most that I scored was 560, which was in Challenger with a few MLS cards. Captain scored 100 or whatever. Um, I don't know. I just thought like 600 is like a stretch personally. Like I think if it was a tiny bit less, and I think people will be like, you know what, that's really intriguing. I think
Yeah,
it's still
but
intriguing. 600's crazy, I think, in my opinion.
yeah, don't worry. We check the data, so we know that there will be some user will reach the 600 during the year, and but we need also to build something exciting for the
For
user.
sure.
That's why the pool needs to grow, and that way we put aside.
Yeah, but also in the blog it's mentioned that in our kind of a summer period, there will be opportunities to revisit elements. So if we've
Exactly.
got things really
Sure.
really wrong, we'll adapt. Like in previously where we've adapted certain beat the game mode targets, that doesn't mean that we would make things harder. Often actually what that means is we're making them
Right.
easier. Like okay, usually the safest option is to
Yeah.
err on the side of caution on those things. But yeah, so we have that window as well to review, and we'll listen to the
Sure.
feedback.
If no one reached the target, of course,
Yeah, but
we can
but if no
change
one
things.
reaches the target, people might be like, no, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's the interesting thing about a jackpot, right? Is you're not the jackpot's meant to be really difficult to get to. But like Harry said, I know a few people have done the calculations that have big galleries and are like, I don't know if I've ever done that. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see. It could happen game week 1 now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
according to the data we have,
Yeah,
probably not. But during the year, yeah, it should be.
okay.
I have a
Or
little
or the data
question.
analyst.
Yeah.
I have a little question on the like I think what you guys have done with the essence as far as like only rewarding say star res and tier ones is really interesting. Like it gives a lot more flexibility to like not winning tier fours and fives and winning essence. I think it's great. But like my first initial thoughts was why didn't you choose to do star one star and then tier two? Like why did it cut off at tier one? Because I think tier two is like a good card objectively. What's the like reasoning behind like yeah cutting off at tier one?
The idea was just to give good cards to the user. To be honest, tier two we found it was like you said a good card, but in the current gameplay, not really useful. I mean, the maybe half of the tier two are not really useful right now,
Yeah, I think that's more
or
is that
difficult to use.
the tier 2 pool is broad, so there are players that some people would like to win in there, but there's also an element of
Yeah,
players that
because
people
it's
don't
too
want to
wide.
win.
It's too
It's too
wide.
wide, yeah.
It's too wide. So for sure, in tier one and T0, you have good player. You can use it. Uh, that was our logic.
Hmm.
So
So,
yeah,
like, I think it just becomes apparent in super rare because in classic, there's literally only two cards rewarded, isn't it? In the super rare classic podium, obviously third gets 50 essence, which is a tier four plus technically on paper. But I don't know. I just think like from a classic perspective, especially in super rare, it becomes really apparent. I know there's scarcity issues with super rare. We know that, but I don't know. Like, there's going to be 300 plus lineups in there every weekend, and two people are going to win actual cards. Obviously, others will win essence. I get that, but I just thought that was a bit overcooked as far as like not rewarding like yeah below a tier one if that makes sense just as a raw card because like I said at super rare it becomes more apparent rare and limited it's easier to maybe digest because you've just got more cards to give out but I just think at super rare because we've got like 4 years worth of supply at this point in MLS classic at least at super rare I know I just thought that one was a little bit overcooked in my opinion but I do get what you're saying with the pool thing for sure.
Sure, I understand, but don't you think it was already really hard to get a card in Super Rare? So the idea was just to increase the tail with the essence, so more people can actually craft the cards. It was already difficult to win a card, so we wanted just to increase the tail with the essence. It was the only possible way, because if we increase the tail with the card, it means that we just reward T4, T5, which is not interesting. So
Yeah.
we want to reward incense instead, and then the people can craft a T2 plus or
Well, yeah,
T3 plus.
there's more decision to the
They have the
reward.
choice,
Yeah,
yes.
there's a choice decision
So
there.
yeah, I understand your point totally. Just to be honest, I think it was already the case before, so
Mhm.
we don't
Yeah.
want.
No, I get it. I get it.
I think the other feedback that I've heard from a few, specifically just from an optic standpoint, was third place not getting a card. Was like the podium, one, two, three, because everybody like very, very common in the community, podium, podium, podium. So it's that third place getting maybe like a T2. I think even if it's not ideal, is kind of what I've heard among the community. Because personally, I actually thought more on Sorare's behalf that I loved the essence part because I would rather have the build up to go ahead and say, hey, I want a star or I want a T1. Like I got that right away and I loved it. It was, I think, more than anything, a few people were like, damn, third place, not a card.
Yeah,
That's what I heard.
I saw this feedback too, and that's something we can consider. We just need to talk about it.
Yeah,
The perception value of the podium can be indeed lower with the no reward card in the
yeah,
third place.
yeah, and yeah, I totally get that feedback. We
Mm.
discussed that one,
Cool.
for sure. There's an optics element, and even in elements of when we're thinking about the old manager levels and things like that we had, where there were certain targets were podium related. We have a legacy around podiums that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thanks for
I get
the
it.
feedback anyway.
Yeah, thank
One
you.
Um,
one last one. One last one. Sorry.
Yeah,
This is
no,
th-
no,
go
no,
on.
no, no, no.
this is not like
Window,
an
hey, transfer
no
windows closed,
opinions.
Harry.
Oh,
No.
Ah,
No opinions. No opinions, I promise. I just
uh,
had it came to
I
me
mean,
when
we
you
said we
asked.
said nothing, nothing else, nothing else.
It came to me earlier. Somebody actually asked me on Discord randomly, can you win MLS under 23s in the under 23 comp, if that makes sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
perfect.
As I go
all the
click to buy some
49.
more U23s. No.
U23.
Okay, cool. Let's move on then to the next part of the show. How are we doing for time? Very good. Right, so next part of the show is more just
He's lying. We don't have a timer.
we have phone laptop. He does. He's getting WhatsApps from Romano about the latest.
Yeah. So yeah, I need to go.
Um,
Griezmann to LA. What?
yeah,
No.
yeah. That's how the solar market's so on top of it, you know. Oh yeah, so the next part is more about the MLS season in general. So as I said before this call, in terms of my MLS knowledge, it's fairly limited. Our goal of this call as well is for essentially to raise awareness and more excitement around MLS from your typical European audience. The reason I'm not into it isn't anything to do with me being, like a loyalist towards, certain types of football heritage and all that kind of crap, for lack of a better word, even though it is important. But the MLS really does interest me. For me, it's more just a case of I'm into too many football clubs and too many sports. But I'm sure I could find room for MLS in my heart. So why should I watch MLS 2025? What what do you think? Why is this the best MLS season ever? What's the highlights? What's the players to watch out for? Go on, get going.
I let you
Come on,
guys.
everyone. It's you.
Ah,
Uh,
how do you call the penalty, the MLS penalty, the MLS shootout?
Yeah,
From the center of the field.
the old hockey rules.
they
Ah,
used
yes.
Yeah.
to.
When they
I
That
run
was
and
glorious.
I
Because
That
know.
was glorious.
it's MLS's 30th anniversary here. So I was thinking if I was pulling the strings at MLS headquarters, I would have brought back the old hockey, golden goal rules and the
100%.
the shootout rules just for this season.
Now,
100%.
if I can answer to that, what I love about the MLS is
Mhm.
the kind of box to box play.
Okay.
It's from one goal to one goal. It's very fast. Almost the tactics Almost not that, not
He's not
He's not
wrong. He's
wrong.
not wrong.
He's
Yeah.
not wrong.
score, and you end
Yeah.
up with 6-2.
Yeah.
No, I
Uh,
really commit, but don't tell me it's wrong.
no, no, no,
No, it's
no.
not
It's not
wrong.
wrong.
You're not wrong.
I'll kind of save you and I'll give you my 2 cents. And I'll let Harry go. But the best part about watching MLS is it's open. Like it's very open play, which I think what you were trying to say. There's probably Harry, what would you say? Probably only a handful of teams that really play that tactical of soccer.
Yeah,
Um,
there's no like low blocks or anything in the MLS.
like there's
It's literally
only
gung ho.
yeah, like Columbus Crew is probably the most tactical team, but they just lost their best player, so we'll have to see how they go. But it's very open. The thing that makes it great from a Sorare perspective and MLS is you have a huge disparity in skill level. Like your number is typically
Los Ghetto.
Is that us, Harry, or is that
I don't know. Yeah,
but they
I've
don't have
lost
a
Keith.
salary cap, meaning
Oh no, he's
like
back.
they can pay. Oh,
Yeah,
up. I'm back. That was weird.
sorry?
Sorry.
The hand
Sorry
of
about
doom.
that.
The
Uh,
hand.
we lost
Yeah.
you when you were talking about
Yeah.
the skill level disparity. So if you
Mm.
could just
Okay.
stop there.
Yeah, so typically your number 10s, who really do play like a 10. They a lot of times they are
yeah,
in the middle, central to everything, controlling the pace of the game. Like Ricky Pooch last year was one of the best examples of somebody that completely controlled the game. But if you have guys like that that are levels above from a skill level perspective, they came from La Liga, they came from Ligue 1, some from the Prem, they're just levels above the players and they can dictate the game. And it's actually for me, it's thrilling to actually watch these high skill level players, obviously Messi being the top one, just watch them picking apart teams. And then you get a lot of scoring. We get a lot of decisives in the MLS, which ultimately, from a Sorare perspective, like we all love nothing more than notifications on our phone that something happened. And you get a lot of that in the MLS.
yeah.
Do you want to add anything to that, Harry?
It's just complete chaos, isn't it? Like I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like I love watching the games because even though like there's home favorites and this and that, and they've got mess, like sometimes it just doesn't matter. I know that can happen in European football, but like we saw in the playoffs last year, like Atlanta beat Miami, like at Miami, They were like there's always an upset despite, the odds maybe on paper. And it's just complete chaos is like the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. And I'll just say this too on what Harry just said there as well. I feel like in the MLS, because of like the playoff system, it's so weird, but goalies getting on hot streaks
Hmm.
is a thing. Brad Guzan, which is one of the oldest Major League Soccer goalkeepers, what did he have in the playoffs, Harry? He had like 8 to 10 saves in each game versus
Yeah.
Miami, and
Miami.
he essentially was single-handedly winning his team's game. So that stuff is just really cool.
So it seems like there's more, I guess, moments around a specific player, which is, I guess, something that Europe has been losing or has lost, like this idea of the fabled number 10 or just midfield general who just
Well
destroys
said.
teams in defense and attack. That's something I miss,
Mm-mm.
a little bit.
The whole good
Um,
number 10.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
But also that is why MLS is complicated because as you said, there are a lot of scoring, so it means goalkeeper and defender is
Shaky. It's either 10 or 100 for Brad Guzan,
yeah,
He
Yep.
either concedes three or he just gets, like Gator said, 10 saves and he shoots out Miami and, or shuts out Miami, sorry.
goal conceded.
And
Yeah.
I know when I saw the document, with the reasons for MLS getting its specific competition, I remember seeing an element of that saying that
Yeah,
because the game, the type of football and it has such
unpredictable.
it's unpredictable.
Mm.
So it's a little bit like close to the Premier League in terms of,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's between.
Well,
Uh,
I'll say I want to say this and compliment the Sawyer because I think you guys actually nailed it in terms of separation. From those of us that were playing MLS from like we're playing maybe this is Challenger League, you were not considering MLS goalkeepers or defenders.
Yeah.
There was really only 1 to 2 MLS defenders that would even consider. So all of us were thinking, okay, I'm gonna play 2 mids from the MLS and a forward, and then I'm gonna go over to PSV and get like Benitez and Biscagli, or when it used to be America, we go down to Brazil. Like all of that, I think from a strategy standpoint, it makes a ton of sense to combine it because
Yeah.
now we're all playing goalkeeper roulette. And we're really having to pick our spots and like who we think is gonna do well versus before it felt like if you were just on an MLS goalkeeper and defender, you were at a disadvantage versus people that had European cards.
Yes, the meta before, so the meta is the best way to play. The meta before was to play like an Argentinian goalkeeper with a defender Argentinian too,
Mhm.
and like you said, with two midfielder from MLS and one forward.
Yep.
Yeah. I also remember all the messages when the MLS League, the previous season ended, and all the challenger guys who would be a bit more loyal to maybe, Eredivisie or yeah, Jupiler Pro League, being quite happy that MLS was
Yeah.
MLS cards were gone
Yeah.
from competition for a while.
Some were cheat code like Ricky Pug,
Yeah.
last year.
Erwan said cheat codes, not the other word.
No, yeah,
That's
cheat
his
code.
French pronunciation.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was. I mean,
Save me.
I mean, that guy dropped probably what, Harry, his final game, like 80 or 90 on a torn ACL for 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
he was nuts. Like combining that with obviously Peck and stuff. Yeah, that Galaxy team was dangerous. But obviously, yeah, injury this year, so things are going to change. Dynamics are going to change in the MLS this year, which is again makes it super fun.
Let's talk quickly about maybe some of the dynamics that are changing, looking at some of the big transfers, because I know
Yeah.
MLS is essentially every year there's more and more marquee signings and movement between clubs. It's taking more and more of a limelight essentially in terms of big transfers. Are there any big ones that you're excited about this season?
I
I'll
mean,
let you go,
Gator, you
Harry.
need to go. Oh, you want me to go? Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
you're probably
I'll let you start. I'll fill in.
so. I mean, I think as a club, I don't think you can really look past what Atlanta United have done. To be honest, with bringing Almiron back, that's obviously one of the best players in the MLS at the time. Got his move to the Premier League and stuff was good for a few years, and now he's obviously come back. And I mean, yeah, he's not as if he's old either. Like this is like a healthy, relatively young Almiron coming back, and to partner that with that Emmanuel Latin-Life, who's gone from Middlesbrough to Atlanta for like I think it's a record MLS signing,
Yep.
18 million roughly. It's like the most ever for a championship player, which is kind of mad, really, in a lot of ways. But those two combined with what they already kind of have, like I don't think there's a better like duo that have been signed necessarily for one club. I mean, like we can speak about the Denkis. There's still other like really good individual signings, I think. But for me, Atlanta have done the best business if we're talking like a club. Gator, would you agree
Yeah.
or what?
Yeah. I mean, I think they went from being a team that was like into the playoffs to where I think that they could be better than Miami, which is
Wow.
uh maybe a hot take. I don't know how hot it is. I mean, they are in the rumor. I think Mario Rui, who played at Napoli last, he's being rumored as well. So they're just gonna have a ton of stuff. But like you said, there's so many like marquee players too that so are managers and on the other side of the pond will know, like Wolf Zaha going to Charlotte. He's had a rough run for about a year or two, but he was for Saturday mornings, he was one of my favorite players to watch. So I'm very happy to own multiple Zahas right now. Jonathan Bamba, I think, is an interesting one. I kind of wanted to talk about him, not from like oh my God, I think he's gonna be the best player, but when we talk about the skill disparities, this is a guy that was at Lille, was a very, very good player for Lille, even in Champions League competitions. He goes to La Liga to Celta Vigo, doesn't have that good of a run there, but now he's coming to the MLS where from a skill gap, he's he's miles ahead and still young. So I think those are the guys that when you're talking about like transfers, you really got to look at these guys that maybe just didn't get a good run in upper divisions. Like we saw one of the best players, really, I would call him silver history, Carl Seal.
Mhm.
Struggled at West Ham, trying to remember where he was in Spain. I think it was Valencia, but he just never got good runs there. Comes here, perennial MVP guy. And then also, sorry, just tore off my mic. Got so excited. But like, and then I'll just end, even though he's not gonna play this year. Ricky Pooch, same type of deal. He's getting a rough run at Barcelona. Obviously, he had tons of talent. Comes over here and just runs the league for an entire year. So those are the type of guys that you need to look for that can just really be dominant. And I think we got a few this year.
What do you think, Erwan? I know you're a big MLS. Well, you just love everything, but
Yeah, I love Atlanta, but I will say Atlanta. They already
yeah,
talk about Atlanta. So, but I'm curious to see the San Diego new team. Uh,
Yeah,
they have quite a surprising team. Like they recruited Lozano from PSV, Dreyer from Anderlecht.
yep,
I'm quite curious to know how they will be
okay,
next
cool.
year.
I think there's a lot of food for thought there. I was thinking about Almiron as well, and what you said earlier, Gator, about hot streaks. Like I remember, was it last season? Almiron just went on a bender in the Premier League.
yep.
Yeah, but anyway.
I mean, and I'll just say this too. Harry kind of alluded to it, but like an Almiron, before he left, he was like Ricky Pooch
Mm.
Yeah.
or like Messi. He literally ran the league. Atlanta at that point was an expansion team. They
Mhm.
came in and they were the talk of MLS. So seeing somebody come back like that, that just shows like the league's in a really, really good spot, not only for fandom, but for more people to come over and play Sorare here. Because we're getting some of the legends back, which is really cool.
Come on, Gator guy. Please don't hype him. I tried to buy him.
I already bought my Almirons. I got my end seasons and my classics, so I'm in good shape.
Okay, let's move on then quickly to kind of the final part of the this podcast, which is more talking about how we'd like to speak maybe more specifically about. We already touched on how MLS on its own specific competition influences strategy. Essentially, you have the goalkeeper roulette to navigate, which is something that I was new to me when I first was kind of dipping into MLS cards a couple of seasons ago. You have everyone's essentially playing also with the roulette of a defender, like trying it's
Mhm.
going to go around for better defenders. Is there anything else that's a little bit different? And I'd like to actually think a little bit more about, say, do you both plan on playing hot streaks?
Good question.
Yeah, 100%.
So how looking at hot streaks and the five levels, how are you approaching that in terms of your own strategies?
So I think, yeah, for me, it's going to be a lot to do with trying to identify defensive stacks that like are at home for a couple of weeks out of four, let's say. So 2 or 3 games at home. Like I think this is going to the opposite of that, but I think Montreal or Vancouver have like 7 away games to start the season.
Yep.
There's some really horrible sort of fixture congestions and schedules there. But if you can find or and identify teams that have a few home games in a row, I think you can really work your way up those hot streaks quite quickly. And if you've got multiple teams, if you've obviously got 3 entries, so kind of trying to plan that where what team A has 2 or 3 home games for the first 2 or 3 streaks, then you've got team B that has another 2 or 3. So you're basically like, if you've got 3 teams, you could get like 6 home games as like your main matchup every like continuously. Because otherwise, if you're away in the MLS, it's going to be a long day for you. I think if you're a defender, goalkeeper stack a lot of the time.
I was going to
And then
ask
it's
about. I was going to ask
go
it.
on.
Home and away edges are
Oh,
a lot more.
this is Gators, territory.
This
If
this is yeah, that's my brand is the home guy. But a lot of that and people that know me in the community, it's because of the MLS. You have pretty ridiculous home away splits. Sometimes people will look at standings and go, "Oh, it's not that bad." But if you actually look at the match flow,
Yeah.
teams just for whatever reason just control the ball a lot more in the MLS when you're at home, get a lot more opportunities. So within that strategy standpoint an away keeper might have those spikes. So if all of a sudden you're looking at your hot streak and you're like, man, I'm really up against that. I need a huge goalkeeper score. Maybe the 5-1 favorite at home doesn't give you a ton of upside, but the
Mm.
guy that's facing Guzan away to Miami and he gets 7 saves on Messi,
Mhm.
that could do it.
Yeah, but
So
like Harry said, it's like going for like 0 or 100.
yep.
yeah, the
Yeah, I
variance
mean
is
that's
crazy.
the hardest part. You have to be willing to accept, we call it I don't know if it's an okay term, but I'm just gonna say it. We call it the guillotine at the 3 goals where you lose the negative decisive. You go from 35 to 15, you lose that 20 points just for that third goal. And then unfortunately there are a lot of errors led to goal from our goalkeepers over here. It's kind of indoctrination to playing goalkeeper in the States.
It's
I
the
think
weird
you can like
balls.
yeah, they're a funny shape. I think you can kind of combat that though with what Gator's saying with like yeah, you know, every week try and have two home fixtures for maybe 2-year goalkeeper defender stacks and have that one stack just on the outside just in case Guzan does do 90, you have that sort of edge that sort of edge on if your home guys do well, fine, but their upside might not be crazy. They might just get a flat 65, 60 or whatever as a keeper. Whereas if Guzan's away to Miami on that off chance he does peak, that team then could maybe surpass the two home guys, the two home
Yep.
teams that you've picked maybe. So yeah, and you want as many horses in the race as possible, right, for this hot streak thing. Like you want to give yourself the best chance of hitting it.
Yeah, same
So
with
so
And you
two
have free
save
free
stacks
chance.
and one wild
Yeah,
card.
because you have
Yeah.
chances with the hot streak.
so I actually wanted to ask Harry that. Sorry to take host role real
Yeah.
quick, but Harry, I want to know your thought because I keep going back and forth in my head. I think there's one cool thing about the way they did this hot streak is that we have like a return to strategy, like we used to have with Rare Plus and things like that. Where am I going to move my alpha cards? How are you going to play all five in seasons because hot streak in all three lineups, or are you going to do what I'm somewhat considering, which is maybe have one alpha wildcard team where I'm not going for the hot streak, but I'm going for that first place in the MLS rare division or the MLS super rare division, and I'm saying, hey, this team, I'm not worried about the hot streak. I'm going for first place.
I think that's got to be in your thought process if you've got the cards. Like, I have a few decent classic rares, let's say, but if you've got like with yourself some incredible sort of alpha classics, then you've definitely got to weigh that up. I think it maybe depends on what level you're on that streak. Like if it's only the first one, for example, and you're quite confident that you've got three lineups and you're confident the two of them like one of the two should hit it. That third sort of wild card lineup, like Dan was saying, like yeah, maybe that isn't designed to really, or maybe you don't need it for that week. Whereas if you're on like I don't know level 4 or 5, you need some peaks, right? You need the Braguzan
Yep.
100. So I think what you've said there makes a lot of sense to be honest, especially in that if you're still battling for the lower sort of streaks at that point or on that given matchup. I think that's a really interesting dynamic.
Or maybe Harry,
Go on.
maybe division battles, and you want to lock up as many D1s first week,
Wow.
right?
Yeah, I mean for first week that's going to be carnage. Like I think that was a really nice little sort of
Because
left field thing that you did because that's fun. Like that really
that
encourages having three good teams for the first week. Like it's
that was
clever.
my
Really.
favorite part of the update. I'm not just saying it. I'm like that is how we should start every single one. This like free for
Yeah,
all.
scramble. Yeah, Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that
I
was
think it's
the
awesome.
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
And
Actually, Royal Rumble was a miss. We could have called it that. That would have been good.
oh, Dan, come
I'm
on.
claiming
Hey, for
copyright.
your
I'm claiming
opinion.
copyright.
Change it, change it,
It's
change
too late. Too
Change
late.
it. Come on, change the name.
Learners will kill us.
it. But Gato guys, it was exactly how we thought about the feature. I mean the ostrich. Like if you want to go for the podium or for the win, yeah, you can play your classic card with the maximum XP. And if you just want to go for the ostrich, okay, so you need to play with 5 in seasons. It was
I love it.
exactly our thought when we built the feature. So perfect.
To, to summarize for anyone who is looking to fast track, um, so like me, go all out on division battle because having to grind from Div 3 all the way up to once,
Yep.
especially lower division, the
Mm.
lower scarcities, it's like
And also great prize pool for the first
yeah,
first
yeah,
game week.
yeah, all prizes essentially in one
Yeah.
leaderboard.
Yeah.
So and not back to the old days.
Yes.
So it's a nice way to kick off the league. But thinking more specifically to hot streaks, per Harry and Gator, it's really looking at matchups, leaning more
Mhm.
home, find that solid goalkeeper defensive stack, and maybe at times think about that wild card slot. A goalkeeper that will have some crazy performance. Maybe think about it more as you're higher up in the hotness of the streakness. Anything else?
I mean, I'm a big double decisive guy personally. Like, I love having, as far as like my midfielders and attackers, and even the flex position. Like, I love the ability for my, Lucho Acosta, for example. to whip a ball in, and Matt Miazga's got his big head on it, as the defender. Like I love that type of dynamic. The best one's probably the Seattle one, like Rusnak's on all
Yep.
the corners, and Reagan or Yeimar will get their head on
Yep.
a corner, and boom, you've got a double decisive there. And in that, for that defender is huge. You could argue like Alba, Messi, like that's a perfect one there. For,
Yep.
for the Miami boys, I just love that dynamic of sort of where like the double decisive, especially in the MLS. It's lots of free kicks and corners and whatever, and yeah, I do. I mean, I wouldn't say that's the first thing in my mind, but if I'm building a lineup and I have the ability to maybe, pair my midfielder with the defender because I know they take corners and all that jazz, I
Yep.
think that's it's obvious, but it's one of those ones where it just makes me smile.
Are
As
there a
as
lot
long as they're at home.
Yeah.
are there a lot more corners and free kicks and kind of
Yeah, I mean it's sloppier football, so there's a lot more fouling. Like guys get to the byline rather than there's just not again, there's the tactics kind of go out the window in the MLS. A defender that might normally try to not concede a corner just gladly concedes a corner in the MLS.
it sounds like the extra time of, a World Cup final or something like that where everyone's completely knackered and there's just like
It's but that's 90 minutes of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's the whole game.
And the best part for you, Dan,
I'm in.
you can be at about 1 a.m., 2 a.m. your time. Only had about 13 drinks, and then you turn on MLS and you're like, oh, this
I'm
is
in.
it.
I'm in.
So I want to
That's-
give one last piece of advice since we're doing well, if somebody's brand new considering coming to the MLS, the biggest piece of advice I would give anybody that is new to Sorare on MLS is you want to use two midfielders almost all the time. Midfielders in MLS, we talked about the number 10s. Majority of the number 10s are midfielders, not forwards. So, optimal lineups for those of us that are played it for a while, almost always are two set taking midfielders in your midfield spot and your extra spot. It's going to give you a leg up.
Also, maybe we can tease a bit, and maybe you will help us, guys, with this. But we want to help the new user to join MLS. So we are thinking about a way to highlight some players, because for a new user it can be complicated when you don't
Yeah.
know. So we want to highlight some player in the marketplace. So
Yeah,
with the help of the community member, for example.
Yeah, we wanted to do a community filter. So like the first one could be, Gator Guy and Harry Trades, Hot Streak picks or MLS
I
picks.
love that. I love that.
Um,
Mine will always be at home. That's very easy. People can filter out half the league.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something we were thinking about starting where some
I
of
love that.
the operations around the market events is, community filters around, around on the market, or likewise, we might do some card designs inspired by the community or some more special events inspired by the community.
That.
Yeah, that's more
It's
more
a little
exclusives.
tease,
Little tease. It's a little tease. It's a little tease. It's a little tease.
Will we get Celebration Edition MLS cards at some point?
No, I'm not sure, but I don't think so, Harry. Sorry.
Fair enough.
Harry just got me all excited, and then
Go ahead.
we will do we are planning on doing a special edition MLS cards.
Nice.
But we're speaking with the MLS to see what their plans are around what is a big year for them.
yeah, for sure.
Little hint.
Well, I'll say this too. We're just kind of open forum. MLS, back to America, we have all stars. So if nothing else, we have an all-star game. So there could be all-star edition guys that make it.
That's true. That's true. The one I can say the one that what I would love is because it's the 30th anniversary. I was hoping that the MLS would maybe do reissues of the original jerseys for all the MLS teams that are still in it, and then we could put those they would get the players to wear them in like another press shot or photo op moments, and we could reissue. We could sell them.
That'd be insane.
Dan, do you want my money? Do you want my money? You're gonna have all my money.
That is the idea.
My God, that would do it.
And also one last thing, but it's just about the strategy. I'm not sure full stack in MLS is the best strategy because like you said, guys, we are there are already good playmakers in different teams. So I mean, you don't have two playmakers 100%. In one team. So just by players from different teams is the best strategy for me. For example, like you said, Harry, you can do like a stack of midfielder, defender, or if you want, you can do Messi and Suarez. But you don't have a very good midfielder
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
Inter Miami. It's Messi, the playmaker. The same for Atlanta. Maybe it's hard to find a defender. So also you need to dig and find
And that makes
players.
the gameplay and especially the team building more immersive, you know.
100%.
Something that we're looking for naturally in our gameplay. Luckily, some of the leagues are just more naturally suited to hybrid teams or teams with multiple clubs in them. Other leagues less so,
Yeah.
just because of the trends of football. But MLS, what I'm excited about is that it does bring that level of strategy back towards lineup building and selecting. I think
100%.
we have to wrap up just because I'm wary of the time and I have to pick up my daughter. Okay. Thanks very much, guys. Bye bye bye. Bye everyone. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
watching,
guys.
Bye-bye.
listening. Bye bye.